YouTube, this is Alex. I recently made the possibly dubious decision to purchase a KLOM master picking set, Kilo Lima 307. It's a tooling system, in fact. Ordered this from one of those Deal Extreme or something like that. Seen a number of people using them, and they seem to have some interesting shapes, and it's like 30 bucks, so for, I don't know, 35 picks or something. So thought we'd take a look at it. Here's the bag. On the outside it's about 6 inches by 4 inches, whatever that is in metric. It'll show up on the bottom, right in there somewhere. So let's see what's inside. So here we are, presented with the inside. I may have rearranged things a little bit. I believe these tensors came with it. So the first thing you notice is that there are a lot more picks than there are slots in this little tool, little pick case. Another immediate observation is that they have these rubberized handles, which I'd say they're comfortable, but I don't like the feedback from them. They're a little flexy and numb, so you really have to end up keeping a finger kind of in contact with the metal to get good feedback, at least in my opinion. But the bigger problem is that they tend to bind. See my on frame now. They tend to bind in these slots, especially when you've got them full up, and so I don't know what they were thinking, but yeah, the rubber just catches on this stuff. Okay, so I have gone through with my precision Michitoyo thickness gauge. Good investment if you use such things. And measured all of these picks. Now, I haven't counted them, but whatever. You can see there's quite a wide range of size thicknesses. They've got probably a little bit of manufacturing variance. The 3.5 and 3.6 and 3.4 were kind of close, and that may be due to burrs. The 2.0 and 1.9, hard to say. You've got at least 3 primary thicknesses here. Where the 2.8? Oh yeah, there's the 2.8. All of those. So pretty standard thicknesses, I'd say. This is my Peterson diamond, which has been sanded slightly, but I'll measure it down at the base, and that's 0.25. The one exception is this goofy thing, which is double. I don't know, it's not going to focus for me, but with this lens. But you can see there's 2 blades. You can hear it. Total thickness on that is 0.60, so the metal's probably 0.30. You know, pretty good range, nothing crazy. I think these would qualify as slimline. The Peterson slimlines are 0.15, but some of the other slimlines are 0.20, so it's reasonable. I did have some pretty good luck with 1 or 2 of these little really thin ones, getting into some of those circuitous keyways. The kind of unfortunate thing is that the rakes, which are kind of dubious to begin with, really thick. So and kind of a tall profile on a lot of them. So those are your primary rakes there for normal pin tumblers, and that's really thick, I think. It doesn't fit in a lot of the locks that I've worked with. Okay, so these are the ones that I'm categorizing as dimple picks. These are really the only ones. They're that kind of curved edge kind. This one, I guess, is a rake, maybe for Kaba or something. I've tried it, and it doesn't seem to do anything. You can overset all the pins, but you know. One thing I have found it useful for is if you get your pick stuck in a dimple lock, you can often depress all of the pins and get your pick out. Then there's this guy, which is trying to also be a dimple pick, I think. A rake, and maybe for some really crap locks it'll work, but not for any of the locks that I've tried it on. The rake part of it is on the order of 0.74 inches or 1.88 mil. It's pretty thick for, you know, if you think about the bitting on a key. Okay, these were the only two vaguely single diamond shaped things. Were not proper rakes or auto rakes in the kit. Nothing special. Okay, so here are your auto jiggler rakey things. Again, I don't have a lot of experience with these. They look similar to other auto jiggler locks I've seen or pictures I've seen online, but I don't really know much about these, so I can't judge. Though some of them look kind of, silly to me. We have these two rakes. They're the same shape as far as I'm concerned. One is 0.028 inches. The other is 0.020 inches. So I don't know if this is to allow them to maybe jiggle around somewhat independently in the lock. It's pretty stiff, springy. It's pretty thick material, so I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of that is. So then these are the remaining auto rake type things. These two are similar, except that I think this one's a bit thicker, and this one only has one bump, and that has two. I don't know what that's worth. This is really weird. First I thought they'd put like a single Bogota in there, and when I was pulling it out, and then I realized it was together. So it's like two open diamonds. Don't know how useful that's going to be. They are offset a little bit, and then two closed diamonds that have pretty much the same aspect ratio. So don't really know what the benefit is there, but that's that. Maybe somebody can comment on the relative value of those things. So these are the ones that I'm categorizing generally as rakes. You can see them all together. We'll zoom in. So these two I'm categorizing as rakes. That's like a snowman or double circle, double ball. This one, you know, I guess you call it an open diamond, but it does have these two bumps here. But I'm going to call that a rake type thing. This one, which is, I don't know, it actually has a similar profile to some of the little mini snake rakes or the double hump rakes. So that might be useful for something. It's a pretty thick, that's 036, pretty thick metal on that. Got a city rake, which is actually pretty decent. It's also 036 according to my notes. This rake, which I'm not 100% sure what this is for, maybe for very, very small locks. It's pretty narrow. The total height on that is only like 0.78 or, come on, 2 mil, roughly, ish. So, pretty shallow, so you can get in keyways, but there's not a lot of variance in height on it. You know, maybe plus or minus 10 thousandths. So not exactly sure what that's good for, but we'll see. And then there's this guy, which I don't know. I'm going to call it the saw, for lack of a better term. It's the profile is similar to a Bogota, but not really. The aspect is wrong on the humps, and it's really thick. I think this was either 036 or 036. So it's the thickest metal of the ones. Most of the rakes were pretty thick. Only thing I found this useful for so far is like cleaning blocks by, you know, shove some lubricant in there and run this back and forth just to run the pins up and down. And it's strong, so you can just use a lot of force. There's a video on that yesterday. So anyhow, those are the rakes. And this, I think, is probably worth the $35 or $30 plus shipping that you pay for this kit. It's a pretty wide selection of hooks. You have stuff from a really short hook that's 019, really thin material, 020, same kind of shape. This one's actually softer. I don't know why. Maybe because I guess the shaft is a little thinner, but you can see the springiness on there. That one's a little harder. So here's a close-up of the hooks with a scale there, so you can get an idea of the dimension. Sorry, I don't have a metric scale. There's a number of these that has sort of a similar shape, aspect ratio. So this one has sort of a flatter tip on it. I don't think there's no bump in it. But so you could call that a lifter, or maybe it's similar to a gem. And then you've got different degrees of hook angle, different thicknesses of material, shaft thicknesses. Come over and grab another few of these. A couple more. Again, that's like a little, that's pretty stiff, but you know, flexible. This one has another, it's a flat top, but you probably can see there's a little notch in there. Is that this one? Yeah. It's like a little notch, and that'll sometimes help you grab onto a pin, help you locate the tip of a pin. So it's kind of, I find those handy. And then some more hooks. This one came with this sort of rust on it, so I don't know what's going on with that. That's not me. That's a really shallow, I mean, you might even categorize that as a reach diamond, I'm not sure. Very shallow hook. But this one, very thin, kind of flexible, good for getting into little spaces. And then you get into two that are really quite small. I was using one of these when I picked the EVA DPI the other day. They are quite, you know, bouncy, squishy when you get going on them. And this one even wants to go sideways, but you can sure weave those into those little narrow keyways. So they're the hooks. So this is the other tensor that I was talking about. I finally found it. It does look kind of wide. I mean, it's probably over 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, about a little over 1/8 of an inch wide. But it's got, here's the focal length on this is pretty narrow at this macro, but there's the one side, and the other is a bit slimmer, I think a little tapered. So here's one end of this guy, so it's a little bit narrower. Let's get a reading on that, just on the end there. So it's showing about 3.5 mil, 3.3 mil, or 0.12, so about 1/8 of an inch. And then the other end is a little broader, squarer, and he's 0.15 inches, 4.03, so 1/2 mil difference. This actually works decently for top of the keyway, and it's really strong. It gives you a very rigid feel. Not as good as a pry bar, but in terms of holding and the size, but you know, for the tensors they give you, not too bad. The other interesting tensor they give you is this one. I've not seen one of this shape before, so you don't get that thing, but then you've got this end, which is like bent over, and I guess that would be potentially good for top of the keyway, or maybe for a dimple lock coming in the side. So I've played with it, not been terribly impressed, but you know, so it goes. So here's the case it comes in. I took all the picks out of it. It's kind of a lot of wasted space. You can't really get anything in some of these corners. This is center bit. I guess you get a tensor in there. Some pockets on the sides. They didn't give you anything on this side. This material is some kind of pretty crappy nylon sort of stuff. And the zipper, particularly when you have all of the picks in there, the zipper is just not very, doesn't give you that warm fuzzy feeling. It's pretty clear that it's going to break in not too distant future. Little shards of string sticking out and things like that. So I'd say overall, it's nice to get it's better than a plastic baggie for your picks that you often get. And it's better than paying extra for a case, but you get what you pay for. So not so impressed on the case. So I thought I'd show a little bit of fit and finish on these things. Depending on which pick you look at, some of them have some, you're not going to be able to see it, but maybe a glimmer in the light, but they have some light sort of burrs from the machining process, which is not too impressive. Made it a little harder to get accurate readings on the thickness. One thing I thought was kind of interesting, let's see if we can get a good view. So here, this, it's really rough here. It's actually not too bad, and it looks like it's been ground maybe a little bit on the tip, possibly. But this is stamped sheet metal. You can just tell from the cut. It really looks like stamped. This other one, which maybe is a little thinner, that has the looks of laser cut. For the pick blades themselves, I would say the fit and finish is not as good as Peterson, but close. And I think Petersons require a good bit of tune-up. Some of them are closer to Southord in terms of being ready to use out of the box, but some of them definitely need a little work if you want to get that nice fine feel. So again, you get what you pay for, but these are not horrible. The handle is made out of, I guess, a medium soft rubber. You can sort of see how it impressions there. It's actually somewhat rigid in this. Well, so there you have it. The KLOM Master Pick Set Tooling System, Kilo Lima 307. Value, good. Extremely cheap. You could spend this much on like 3 or 4 of the Southord Max picks. On the other hand, you can buy some of the lower end Southord picks, which are honestly almost as good, for $2 or $3 each. Petersons are what, like $5. So depending on what you're looking for, I don't know that I'd recommend it as a beginner set. I think it actually has too many picks and a lot of ones that are pretty useless, and requires a lot of finishing, I think, to make some of them useful. And it really doesn't have a good set of tensors that gives you a broad range of options for tensioning your picks. Tensioning your locks when you're picking them. So, but if you're just trying to add some cool stuff to your collection, if you're trying to get a whole bunch of hooks for a pretty low price, I think the hooks alone are worth the $35 plus shipping. So not too bad. One thing I will tell you, if you order from those Deal Extreme people, this took over a month to deliver, to get here. So, I know that you can get express mail across the world in 24 hours, but I guess they send this on a boat or something. So there you go, KLOM pick set. Check it out. read other people's reviews, come to your own decision for what's right for your picking style. Anyway, this has been Alex. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my feed if you like my videos. And as always, have fun and keep it legal. Cheers.